didn't get off the ship today in the Scottish Highlands, but in a funny way, I still went back. I went back to Fraserburgh, which is a town just north of here, and I went back to Tesco, where I used to work. And I went back to a version of me who had no idea how much my life was going to change in the following years. Sometimes a new place gives you an adventure, and sometimes an old place gives you a memory you finally understand differently. When we docked in Aberdeen this morning, I didn't see a tourist destination. I saw memories of the year I lived and worked up here. I moved from the south of England to run a store for Tesco, basically because they didn't have anyone else. And I'd just been signed off. I couldn't even go home to Yorkshire, to where my family lived, for even a weekend. It was too far. I'd been working in head office for 6 years at that point, so it had been a while since I'd worked in store. And at first, I didn't understand the local dialect called Doric. I thought moving to Scotland would be easy. After all, we all spoke English. Well, so I thought. There was this Doric dialect, which was, they said things that I just didn't understand. One example would be, I kept asking questions, and I'd been met with an answer of, I don't care. I'm like, I don't care. They didn't actually say, I don't care. They'd say, I dunna care. And then I realised they were saying, I dunna ken. And in Scottish or in Doric, I dunna ken means I don't know. So it took me about 3 months to figure that one out. But I was like, oh, they don't care. Okay, fine. I'd spend my days leading hundreds of people, speaking with lots of customers. But then I'd go home to an empty house at night. So it did become quite lonely. I'm talking about probably over 20 years ago. We didn't have the tools then that we have now to make friends from strangers really easily. So although sometimes I think lots of us think technology's gone a bit too far, it really does bring with it some huge benefits. If I'd moved up there on my own today, I probably could have joined, well, I would have joined Facebook groups, meetup groups, maybe even been able to find other solo travellers online. But back then, if you moved somewhere on your own, you did move largely on your own. It was quite tricky because I couldn't socialise with my team because that was just not appropriate. So one of the things I did, because I was kind of a bit lost on my days off, I was living in the Highlands, and so I naturally thought, oh, I think I'll learn to fly. I saw an advert for a flying lesson, and I thought, oh, I'll take that. So I took it, and I don't know how long it was, half an hour or something. And I really liked it. So I inquired about taking flying lessons. So I took some, and I think I took about 6. And I absolutely loved it. I don't remember, it was a tiny plane, it was a 2-seater plane. And I don't know if this will make sense to you or not, but one of the things I've learned about myself is I don't necessarily want to become the thing, but I just want to experience it, or I want to know what it's like. So I see an opportunity to go flying and I think, yeah, let's do that. I didn't necessarily want to become a pilot, but I did want to know what it was like to fly. And so I was able to satisfy that itch, if you like, without having to become a fully fledged pilot. My lessons were an hour, and then we'd take the plane back in, we'd push it into the hangar. It was really good fun. It was on an RAF base. I don't remember which one. Kinross, I think, actually. It's on the way to Inverness from Elgin. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Kinross. And it was just tucked away there. It was nothing to do with the RAF, but they'd obviously rented the space from them. And you can imagine the scenery was absolutely gorgeous. The Highlands really were one of the most beautiful places that I've ever lived. It was a brilliant experience, but I reached a point where I couldn't go any further without starting to take to learn the theory behind it. And the theory started with cloud formations, and I had zero interest in learning about cloud formation. As it goes, today I kind of wish I'd taken it, because I do look at our clouds sometimes and I wonder about them. So it would have been interesting to have learned that. But anyway, I didn't. I just thought it was a brand new job. I was in a brand new part of the world. I'd never lived in Scotland before. And I was, on my own, and I just felt that it was taking too much on to start trying learning some technical information as well. So I stopped. I guess I'm kind of a collector of experiences. When an opportunity is presented, more often than not, I take it. Being up here for a year on my own, living in Elgin and working in Fraserburgh, taught me a lot. I moved hundreds of miles from home to take up my first store manager role. One of the things I love about cruising, I can be completely anonymous if I like. That was something I couldn't be as a store manager. Everyone in the area knew there was a new store manager from England in town. One Saturday night, when I got a flat tire in Banff, which is about 20 odd miles away from the store, the whole, not the whole world knew, but on the Monday morning at 7 o'clock, half the store knew what had happened. As a store manager, I couldn't choose when to be visible and when not to be. I had to be on all the time. People knew me in the store, in the town, and apparently even when I had a puncture. That's life in the Highlands for you. Totally different way of life, but a nice community. But I did find the lack of anonymity challenging. When you lead a large team, you're always the store manager. You don't get to decide when to switch that identity off. Some people love all that and are just a natural at it, and then being a store manager. That wasn't the case for me. So today, docked not far from that chapter of my life, I decided to stay on the ship. Perhaps being able to remain largely anonymous is one of the freedoms I value most now. I can connect when I want to, retreat when I want to, and decide for myself when I'm going to be invisible. In Fraserburgh, even a flat tire became public knowledge. On this ship, I could probably disappear for a week. Nobody would notice, maybe other than my cabin steward. And honestly, sometimes that suits me perfectly. It's funny, isn't it? I came here today just expecting another day on the ship because I was never going to get off in Aberdeen because I've been here a few times. Standing here reminded me of the year I lived in Aberdeenshire. I still don't know a thing about cloud formations, but instead, just being here in Aberdeen reminded me of a whole chapter of my life that I'd forgotten about and certainly had never thought about for years. Looking back, it seemed a good idea to relocate to North Scotland on my own. There was an opportunity there. I'd been signed off to be a store manager. There was a store available with no store manager and they had nobody for it. So it was kind of one of those things that, oh, it's meant to be. I do think that quite a lot. So I thought, yeah, I've never been to Scotland, but I could go and live there. So I did. Seemed like a good idea at the time. Maybe it was. I'm not sure. I'll let you decide. And looking back now, I realise that one of the reasons I maybe wasn't as comfortable as I could have been was because I value my anonymity at times, and there just was none when I was in that role. And here I am now, back in Aberdeenshire, which has reminded me of it. Because here I am now choosing anonymity on this cruise and thoroughly enjoying it. The next cruise, I might decide I'm going to go to the solos get together and I'm going to make some friends that I can spend the whole time with. Just depends how I feel at the time. I'm not sure I understood that at the time, but I think I do now. There is another Fraserburgh story that's quite interesting, but that's not for today. Whilst I was here, though, I did explore an incredible part of the world. The Scottish Highlands are just beautiful. I am an introvert, but I'm very sociable when I choose to be. But it's just not all the time. Sometimes I like quiet space. On this cruise, I've intentionally kept myself to myself. I talk to the crew, but I haven't made connections with any of the passengers. Sometimes I do on cruises, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I join the solo travellers groups and make friends and spend most of the cruise with other people. But this one I chose not to. It depends how I'm feeling at the time. I am quite enjoying the anonymity of this one, I must admit. I don't think I've ever been quite so anonymous as this one. I'm really not engaging with anybody, and it has been really nice. I wonder what memories I'm going to get the next place I go to. When I booked the cruise, I knew we were coming to Aberdeen. I still didn't think about Fraserburgh. And even last night when we were on our way here, I still don't know a thing about cloud formations. But for 6 glorious flying lessons, I got to see the Scottish Highlands from a perspective that very few people do. And for that, I'm really glad I said yes.